Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter Duel video. So there's not going to be a lot of different images on the screen, there's really just going to be this announcement. And we're going to be talking about this because I've already started getting tags and stuff like that, and if I don't follow up on this, it's just going to be a thing where constantly I'm just going to get lots of messages asking me if I'm going to follow up on it. So I'm going to follow up on it and I'm going to give you both my thoughts, what's wrong with this, and basically next steps, if there is going to be next steps. Now, first of all, let's just go over the message verbatim, right, because really it's not exactly very big. It's from Stanner, who did say that they were going to follow up on it. Those who don't know, that's the community manager for Street Fighter Duel. Hi everyone, we've talked with the team about the TMNT Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issues that happened after the event, and unfortunately the compensation that we sent out will be the final make good but that we do about this issue. I know this is disappointing for many of you. Please know that we do appreciate your feedback on this and everything else in game, right? So really just by the wording of that straight away, maybe call this reading between the lines, whatever, but the fact that Stanner's actually writing unfortunately in there, I think Stanner themselves know that this isn't enough, right? This doesn't make up for the issue, okay? Not at all. They can't outright say that though. Realistically, they can only communicate what they are told to communicate, so don't. Personally, I've not spoken to the person, I don't know them very well, so I mean, this is not me saying don't give them flack, but really they're just communicating what they can communicate, and you can kind of tell that they probably thought we should have got more as well. Now, the main issue I've got here is they actually don't address the issue at all, okay? They never have addressed the issue. The first issue was the fact that they did this whole changing of the rewards after a large portion of the player base had already received the rewards, yet later players could get better rewards from the same thing. It's generally not done in these games. If these games move the reward structure midway through something being live, they tend to just issue those rewards to players via inbox. I've said this already, it's not uncommon. You will play gacha games where maybe a year into the lifespan they might change things like beginner missions, etc, and because players have already done those beginner missions, they just retroactively give the upgraded rewards to the players who've already completed them, because they can't get access to that again to do it again. So it's very normal to do that, but again, when they make that change, they never just leave a portion of the player base not having access to those greater level of rewards. So by making this change, if they had done that, it wouldn't have been an issue, right? So straight up, let's just get that out of the way. If they'd done that, there would have been no issue here at all. Now, that was issue number one, and for that they issued us with tickets, red tickets, which were nowhere near the value of the Starlight, okay? But if they had just left it at that, there could have been an argument made for, we wanted more compensation, they were not given more compensation, and that was the end of it. But in doing that, they actually created a whole new issue, which they are not addressing here at all. They gave out two different sets of compensation. Everyone on the left hand side of the reward structure were given were given special summoning tickets in place of starlight crystals, okay? Special summoning tickets, 5 is what we got per starlight mist, okay? So 16, you got 80 tickets. In fact, you got 70 tickets. No, you get 80 tickets. That's a 10 pull, okay? So you have, what is it? It says a 2% chance of potentially pulling a unit, okay? So you traded 2 Starlight for that 10 individual summons at a 2% rate versus 2 Starlight, which is essentially 2 guaranteed units, okay? It's a guaranteed dupe, so it's a guaranteed unit, okay? That's a huge differential there. But again, if they just left it at that, I guess you could accuse us of crying over not getting enough compensation. But what they did, and this is where it makes absolutely no sense, is on the right hand side, anyone who bought a turtle, okay? So bearing in mind, in those packs, they got a certain amount of crystals, they got a certain amount of tickets, and they got a turtle. That is literally what they could see. Players went in and they made an optional purchase to buy that exact thing that they could see. There was no misleading things there was nothing that they missed out on, there was nothing that was wrong. Fair enough, it was a $100 purchase, okay? But those players made that $100 purchase because they wanted what was in that, okay? There is no one who bought that who did not need a turtle, right? No one. No one bought that not needing a turtle. When they done the compensation, however, they decided that those players would, on top of that purchase, on top of getting what they wanted, they would just go ahead and give them a starlight. They didn't miss anything. It was everyone on the left-hand side, which did include those players who missed out on starlight. So, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, they turned around and they gave these people starlight, okay? Now, the argument could be made that, well, what if the person bought that but they wanted to buy starlight? They would only have bought that if they needed to buy turtles, okay? If they didn't need to buy turtles, when the reward pack refreshed, they had 2 purchases available, so they could have bought the starlight. So it's a non-argument. They have not addressed that at all. They have not addressed it. They've never addressed it. They've never explained to us why they've seen the need to compensate that group of players completely differently to the actual other side, the main group of players who actually had an issue, which is everyone. That is the largest pool of players, okay? The greater pool of players had an issue with that side of the banner of the reward path thing, okay? I don't really know what we call it. I don't know why it's called the growth pack. The growth pack would be what you buy, in my opinion. The left hand side would be the reward path or whatever. But anyway, that is every single player in the game. Like literally every player in the game, whether you're a free to play, minnow, dolphin, whale, or megalodon, whatever goddamn name people use these days. But that would be every single person. Whereas on the other side, the very small minute minority of players that they decided to actually give starlight to, who did not have a problem, is tiny. It's minuscule. It's almost like a PR exercise where they wanted to be seen to give some people starlight, but they kind of looked at the numbers and went, if we do this, we only need to give it to 1% of the player base. If we do that, we need to give it to 100% of the player base. Let's do that one. But all they succeeded in doing was pissing everyone off. They have never as much as explained why they did that, okay? Which they should explain that, because again, if they look at the right hand side and decide, wait a minute, we gave you a turtle, you could have got a starlight, we will now give you a starlight. On the left hand side, they looked at that and they went, we gave you a turtle, we could have gave you a starlight, we'll just give you special summoning tickets. It doesn't make sense. It literally does not make sense, because while on the right hand side there was no issue, the only thing that happened was visually they changed a turtle to a starlight, but that was an optional purchase. It's a different thing altogether. Whereas on the left hand side they changed a turtle to a starlight, but that was a forced reward, okay? When they did, a lot of people don't know this, when they actually did the change at maintenance, if you had pending rewards, they actually forced them into your inbox. So you couldn't have just sat there and collected them after they made this change. They actually forced the lower value reward onto you, okay? And then they upped the reward level, and anyone who had sat with turtles in their inventory who hadn't combined them yet, they would benefit from the higher tier of rewards, okay? Now, they couldn't have manipulated it because they wouldn't have known about it, but that doesn't change the fact that it happened, okay? This is their cock-up. This is actually 100% their cock-up, and rather than owning it, rather than apologising to the player base, rather than actually addressing the issue, instead they're basically saying, tough shit, quite literally they're saying, tough shit, what we've given you is all you're getting, and as far as we're concerned, that is the matter put to bed. In my opinion, I don't think that's acceptable. I can't tell you guys what to do though, right? People want me to put out this video doing a whole call to action, telling people to boycott the game, telling people not to spend, blah blah blah. I can't do that, right? Because what you do is up to you, right? You choose what you want to do. Because ultimately, if everyone decides not to spend, the game's dead. It's as simple as that. The game's dead, right? So you're basically making a choice of, do you want to stop playing? Because if everyone stops spending, then the matter's going to be taken out of your hands and you're going to stop playing anyway, because they're going to shut the game down, right? Basically, the only hope that we would have as players is if everyone was to not spend, essentially it would be a case of playing chicken with the devs, where the devs can either just bury their head in the sand and think, nah, they're all addicts, they're all on the hook for this, they'll come back to spending, or they notice massive reduction in their revenue and they say, maybe we should go back and revisit that and actually fix it. Because the issue with this growth pack is it's going to actually sit there for the next 30 plus days, just taunting everyone, showing everyone basically that if you were loyal, if you were a player who did well in the event, if you were a player who supported the company financially in the first part, guess what? If you guys, you got screwed over, everyone else who decided that, you know what, nah, I'm maybe going to take it easy part one, and you just got lucky in a rerun and decided, oh, you know what, it's came back, I made a mistake not supporting the game first time around, I'll do it this time. Guess what? You won a bonus prize, you get double value of everyone else. I've got my inbox literally filled with whales, filled with dolphins, filled with people who, I'm not going to share names, but people who told me they spent like $2,000 in the first part, $2,000 to get the turtles done, and they just feel absolutely screwed over because the $2,000 that they spent on part one would have yielded them an additional $800 or £800 of value in part 2 because they bought all 8 turtles from those growth packs in the first part. If they'd done that in this part, they would have got 8 starlight on top of that. That's not even talking about the left hand side where we would have got all the starlight if we had just waited, if we had awakened our turtles later, blah blah blah. It's so flawed, right? They've not addressed it. You can see the responses there. Like, I mean, look, you've got, I don't know what that first one is. Second one's a shit emoji, the next one is slapping your face, the next one's crying, the next one's angry. There's not a single good emoji reaction there, because obviously you cannot respond directly. So what people try and do is they try and respond with emojis because they can't actually tell people what they think. People are not happy, and honestly, I don't know what you do at this point. If we go with what people did with Viper, the only things that we can do is either continually post and game feedback in the Discord. I'll be honest, they could just pay lip service to that and just ignore us. You could send messages to customer service, but customer services will give you a kind of canned response. That's what's going to happen. They will say things like, guys, we really appreciate you, we value you being players, we really respect our players, this is why we did this. No, you're literally telling me that you respect me while disrespecting the time and effort that I've put into the game versus other people. So to me that would just piss me off even more, but it's one of the only things that you can do. I'm not for this. I'm just going to say this, I'm not for this. People talk about doing things like review bombing, posting 1-star reviews and stuff. I don't like that because I feel like the likes of Apple and Google and stuff, they are pretty much now, if they get a large amount of them happening very quickly, they immediately just call it a targeted campaign and they remove those. So I don't know how much value there is in you doing that. So I know a lot of people have suggested that. I don't necessarily think that's the best thing to do, because I think now there's safeguards in place and Google and Apple just remove them. So essentially you're just wasting your time. You want to do it, it's up to you. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. And then there's also the option of, yeah, if you're someone who spends, don't spend. But just bear in mind, you are essentially playing chicken with them, because they will not keep this game running if it doesn't make money. They won't. That's it at the end of the day. They won't keep it running if it doesn't make money. And if you want the game to keep running, you need to weigh up, do you think they will break before you will break? Because if you do, then not spending's the right way to go, because they'll look at it, they'll panic, and they'll maybe do something about it, right? I don't know how or what is the best way to tackle this. They're basically showing us right here, they don't care. They don't. I've said this for a long time though. And again, guys, not to be that person, although there's a little part of me that takes a little bit of satisfaction here. Again, I know that makes me sound like an asshole, but it's true. I said this would happen. I said if we keep letting them do this, if we keep letting them short sell us, if they keep letting them give you no compensation when there's issue, if you keep letting them ignore issues, not apologise for issues, not take ownership, not actually treat you as a player like you matter, then every time there's an issue, they know they can get away with it. So why would they change? And it's taken till now that people want to actually stand up and do something about it. And do you know what? At this point, they're actually going to now believe that, do you know what? Here's what we'll do. For the last 2 weeks, they've thought they're getting nothing. We'll give them 2 Starlight. And then at that point, people will say, oh my god, it's a win, because you thought you were getting nothing. It's like the old classic, offer somebody something actually terrible, so that when you offer them something bad, that looks quite good actually. This is what's happening. I bet you any money that's what's happening right now. I bet you any money in a week's time they're going to turn round after a lot of noise, after a lot of shouting and bawling, and they'll turn round and they'll say, we'll give everyone 2 Starlight. You should have got 16 or you should have got 8, but because you've now resigned yourself to getting 0, when they offer you 2, you're going to bite their hand off for it, you're going to thank them, and you're going to call them generous. That's what they're trying to do, and ultimately, we're the only ones that can let it happen. It happened with Viper. They actually screwed people at a $50 unit. And what did they give you in return for it? $10 worth of tickets. And people actually said, oh wow, thanks guys. That's so well done. Thank you for communicating. Thank you for talking to the community. What? All I'm saying is, you either take this or you don't take this. I've told you what you can do. You need to make noise. If you don't make noise about it, nothing's going to happen. Nothing at all. So that's essentially what they're calling the final outcome. It now comes down to, are you going to let it be the final outcome? Because again, you're the only ones that can do anything about it. So, my point of view, go to this Discord because it's the only place that we can go. Cause a fuss. Let your voice be heard. Don't swear, because they'll ban you. Right? Pre-warning, guys. Anything, if you are trying to cause a ruckus within a community, if you break any guidelines, they will use that to kick you off. So try not to get argumentative with your point, try not to get personal with your points, try not to attack the company directly. I can do that on here because they can't ban me from YouTube. Try not to insult people, because anything you do along those lines, you shouldn't do that anyway, right? But anything you do along those lines, they will use that as a thing to just kick you off. So try and be cool, calm and collected, but word your point, get it across, tell them that, no, it's not on. Yes, do that, but try not to get yourself banned. It's very easy to kind of just tell someone they're a fucking asshole and then get banned from a platform. Try not to do that. Just keep it sort of a adult, and then hopefully enough people do that, they might listen, because they want to promote their new unit. So when they post on Twitter, don't go engaging with the fact that Rose is coming. Go and post about Starlight. Go and post gifs from the boys. Go and post Starlight pictures. Go and post, I don't know, Muse, Starlight. Just do things like that. Meme it. Right? Just keep it going, and that will actually help you. But that's it. I've been Hayzink. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.